is an aura clearing reading for Have Faith. Okay, so I've already surrounded us in protective space once since I had to receive your code name, but I'm probably going to end up doing it several times just because of the type of reading that this is. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the crystals that I've drawn for this reading. So I have my lapis lazuli here. So this is third eye. This is also throat chakra. So anything having to do with psychic abilities, mental clarity, and then your throat has to do with your creativity, it has to do with your willpower. It also has to do with being transparent and being who you are in front of others and expressing who you are outwardly. But also inwardly as well, because you have to know yourself from within, obviously, to express your real self without. And then here I have my smoky quartz. So this is really good for clearing and also psychic protection, protecting your auric space. And it feels like mentally and emotionally as well. So any types of energies that are coming towards you, but I don't only feel just psychic protection. It feels like, in a sense, that's all psychic protection, but specifically it feels also like mentally and emotionally as well. It doesn't only feel strictly like energetically. It feels specifically like with thoughts or emotions, protecting your emotional space, protecting your mental space, but some of it even feels like not so much outwardly always, like being directed towards you from others. Some of it feels like your own thought forms, and some negative things that are in your own aura. It feels like almost clearing yourself and almost allowing like a space of stillness where you are even protected from that, even though it would be more things that are actually directly on you. So not just something outwardly from somebody else that's coming towards you. And then here I have my zoisite. So this definitely goes along with the code name. I picked these before I received the code name, but zoisite has a lot to do with trusting the universe, trusting divine timing, divine flow, that things are going to come together, that things are going to work out, and that even if there are challenges, things will work out in the end. So it's really about seeing the cup as half full rather than half empty. So those are the three crystals that I have for the reading. And three as well. This shows like a kind of cycle. It shows a beginning, a middle, and an end. So three is also a really good number. It can be a very successful, very prosperous number. But I feel like there's even a negative aspect to this three as well. With this reading, usually three is successful, but it also has to do with just cycles in general and completing cycles. So it feels like cycles can also be struggles, but it does feel like ultimately triumphing in the end, and it feels like recognizing that and being expectant of that, while at the same time allowing emotions to kind of rise and fall as they're naturally going to, not bottling things up. So one thing your guides are saying is that it is okay to feel something negative, and actually feeling a negative emotion, but not in a way where you're dwelling on it and you're sort of being engulfed by it. But temporarily experiencing a negative emotion, so I guess in a sense, feeling engulfed by it, as in, you let yourself experience it, you let yourself express it in a full way, where in a sense you're letting it fill you. You're allowing yourself to fully feel it, to feel whatever is there. But it's still something temporary. So in other words, you're doing it with the intention of letting it up so that you can observe it and so that you can release it. Not so that you can hold on to it and sort of dwell on it. And so in that sense, let it sort of engulf you or take over. But the thing is, when we don't express something, when we don't allow something up, then it is actually engulfing us, whether we realize it or not, because we're not allowing it to move. We're not giving it space to move. And so then it just becomes stifled and stuck, and it's kind of trapped there in our aura. And then we don't really have a clear space, and we're not able to really understand the emotion that is there, because it's like we're not allowing it up in a transparent way where we can really observe it so that we can understand it. So your guides are pointing out, it feels like there is this tendency to almost devalue something that is negative. Whether it's an experience or it's an emotional reaction, and feel like we're meant to be positive. We should go around feeling positively all the time and smiling, and almost like make that our objective, make that like our goal, the thing that we're going to do, and the thing that we should almost strive for, it feels like. But then that's almost like a kind of almost perfectionism, because it's not something that you can hold all the time. Nobody can hold that all the time, because on Earth there are going to be lower things. There's going to be lower experiences that we're faced with to challenge us so that we can grow in a various amount of ways. There are going to be emotions that we fall into. There are going to be people that do, wrong things to us. And there are going to be situations that don't always go our way. And it feels like that is to be expected. It doesn't feel like that is because of you or that's particular to you. So it's not something to feel a victim to, or that you are a victim to. This is something in general that happens on Earth, that everybody experiences, no matter what you do, no matter how positive you are. You are still going to have some situation that you observe that teaches you in some ways how to improve more as a person, how to look at something within yourself, because we're not perfect in that sense. We are perfect in another sense. In the sense that sort of all of our imperfections are perfect. There's nothing wrong with them, and they aren't devalued, and they're not seen as something that's wrong ever. And actually, they are valued, and really they're seen as strengths, because we have the potential to grow from them. Those are the things that make us stronger. As people, when you go through them, when you go through challenges that arise, when you go through a negative emotion, when you go through a struggle, that's what makes you a stronger human being. That's what makes you a stronger soul. When you rise to a challenge, but your guides are saying that it isn't about smiling all the time. It's about being present. Um, and if you're feeling something negative about the present, then observe it and try and see what you can get from that, what you can pull from that, and what you are able to take with you as you move forward. What can you connect with in that way, in the way of moving forward, and what you can take with you. But it's okay to experience those things. It's okay to experience negative emotions. And it's okay to allow people to see those emotions. So I feel like you don't have to be positive all the time is something that your guides are saying, and they're almost giving you space to be negative in a sense. That's what it feels like. It feels like they're giving you the space to be comfortable with negativity, because that is how you're going to release negative emotions. That's how you're going to release negative thoughts, but especially negative emotions. There's something about emotions that just keeps coming through, and it feels like that's specifically really what they're talking about. Not having to feel positive all the time, or put out positivity all the time, or seem positive to others all the time. And it just feels like it's okay if you are down or if you feel low, and it's okay to connect with those emotions, because again, that is how you're going to release them. If you bottle them up, they are going to stay in there and they're going to become trapped, and then it's like they are frozen. They're frozen stuck, and they're stifled, and there's no activity. So it's almost like this it's like when you have all of that there and you don't allow it to express, and you feel like you should be positive, you're not really being positive. It's not a true positivity. It's almost, in a sense, like a fake kind of positivity. It's not the real thing, because you're putting it there out of a should, versus I'm allowing myself to feel this stuff, this negative way, whatever it is. It passes, and now I come into positivity naturally because I let that release. And when you do that, then you're going to experience real highs. So what I feel like I'm going to be clearing is more your kind of emotional space, is what it feels like. And your guides are saying to make sure that you are your authentic self, in the way of whatever you are feeling is what you are allowing out. It doesn't matter what it is. Especially if it's present. So in other words, I'm not sitting there worrying about the future. I feel like that's okay as well, though, if that does come up. Because again, you don't want to trap your emotions. But it feels like it's especially okay if it's about something present. Like, this thing bothered me and it just happened. And now I feel this. I feel this emotion on my stomach, or whatever it is. So your guides are saying to just allow, just really allow. And to like allow your full emotional capacity. Okay. So I'm going to start with the lapis lazuli. But I feel like if we don't really observe all of your emotions and just let them up, let them rise, let them fall, and and be comfortable with that, then I don't really feel like this is going to do very much. But regardless, here we are. So I'm going to work on this and try and clear some of this out. And I know you have some other questions over here as well that are kind of related to some other things. So one of them is about where you're from. So sometimes that question is a little bit difficult to answer when guides only want to talk about blocks. It's not that it's difficult to answer, it's that they won't answer. But maybe if they talk about some of the blocks, maybe they will get to it later in the reading. I actually have a little like note on my origin readings page for that reason. Because if a lot of blocks come up, it's like the guides, they only want to talk about that. Okay, I've got a guide who is coming in. Your guides have been here the whole time, but they don't always reveal who they are, or talk about themselves. So it can be more like feeling air, like you are feeling them, but they're not really saying I'm this or I'm that. There's a lot of bottled up emotion in here. Some of it is really old. So it's not even like a new thing, but it triggers present stuff. So when you have all this old stuff, that's why you really need to allow this out. Because some of this is really old and been in there stuck for a long time. I feel like some of this goes back to childhood too. It just doesn't all feel present. And it feels like you kind of have a tendency to block that out. And then it feels like you're doing a positive thing for yourself. And that's just kind of what we're taught or what we're programmed, especially in spirituality. So I know they're mentioning this a lot, but they're kind of trying to attack this in different ways. Almost say it in different ways so you kind of get the full spectrum of almost how kind of damaging that can be, and that it doesn't make you more aligned or more happy or more spiritual. It can actually make you more blocked. So I get it. Okay, I gotta go to that first, otherwise I'm gonna forget it. But so I have one guy who's coming up, and it definitely feels like they're from Orion. So that isn't necessarily your origin, but this guide coming in, this specific guide coming in, feels like they're from Orion. And they kind of feel female. but I'm not 100% on whether they're female or not. Okay, but okay, you have some other guides that are kind of closing in now. I'm still not really feeling exactly who they are, but I am getting this sense from them. It just feels like they like you. They like you as a person, it feels like. Um, and I also get a sense that you're very creative. This as well, the throat chakra. The throat chakra, like I was mentioning before, it has a lot to do with creativity and artistic ability and also intuition. And it does feel like you can take a light approach. And being positive obviously is a good thing. It is healthy. And you do have the capability to do that. They do notice that about you. You do try to stay positive. You try to think of things in a positive way, and that's good. So they're just saying, we're allowing you to have this space where you can be negative too, and that's fine. And that it's a good thing to release this stuff, to release old baggage, and that you're allowed to do that and you're free to do that, and it isn't going to damage you. It's actually going to do the opposite. It's going to free you up more because it's going to allow that stuff to release, and then there's actually more space in there for more positive things to fill the space, more positive things to come towards you. So this is also about what you're manifesting too. A lot of times if we're holding something negative, and maybe consciously we're not necessarily thinking about it or dwelling on it, but we're holding like a negative emotion in there that we haven't allowed out, that we haven't allowed to release or express, then even if we're thinking positive or trying to feel positive about a certain outcome, because that stuff is in there in our space, we end up still attracting something out of that space versus what we're putting out consciously. So your subconscious tracks things a lot more quickly than your conscious mind necessarily will. That's more what people are creating from, is their subconscious mind, their subconscious beliefs. So if you're thinking stuff consciously and you're feeling stuff consciously, but your subconscious is still blocked, then it's like no matter how much you put something out consciously, you're still going to get the same result, the same like negative result in a sense, because of what is there underneath, because of what you're not really conscious of, because of what's there in your subconscious, because that's really what you are creating from. Your conscious mind can definitely help, and sometimes we can think a certain thing with the intention of allowing that new belief to pass into our subconscious, and sometimes that can undo it. So it really depends, but it still comes down to the subconscious and whether or not you can clear a subconscious belief as to what is going to manifest. So it's like your subconscious mind is the tip of the iceberg. And it can be vice versa too. Somebody might be saying something negative, but really their subconscious is saying the opposite. Obviously that doesn't normally happen because a lot of times we do speak out of our subconscious beliefs, but sometimes that can happen with people. Sometimes maybe they heard something from someone else and that person believed it, and they don't really believe it themselves, but they're just saying it, and they still end up manifesting the opposite because they don't really believe that thing. They didn't actually agree with it. They were just sort of repeating something that they heard. Just as a for instance. So this guide from Orion, this is a female guide. But she does feel kind of androgynous at the same time. Or maybe they're androgynous and they have a lot of feminine energy. Okay, no, they're female. Okay. Some of these feel very heavy and stuck. It feels like they hold a lot of weight. Emotions can hold a lot of weight energetically. So you're going to feel a lot lighter once this releases. And there's even something about physical ailments. Okay, even physical problems, it feels like they are directly because of this. It feels like as this releases and this gets more clear, you're going to have an easier time with that as well. Again and again, just this feeling from your guides, just like they like you. It just feels like they like you. I know everybody's guides likes them, you know. At least I'm assuming everybody's guides tend to like their person. I don't know. I'm kind of getting a feeling that that isn't always necessarily true. Depending on is the person really giving into some negative stuff. But generally, I feel like that is true. But your guides, for some reason, your guides just keep saying it. I don't know. Your guides are saying that people's guides always love them. But like tends to have to do with, you know, what is the person putting out? What are they really giving into for the most part? Because it feels like not everybody is always. It feels like a lot of people on earth do hold very negative intentions, is what they're saying. Not a lot of people. But obviously, there can be some people who want to hurt others, who are treated negatively and really hold that space and want to act out of that. So it feels like their guides love them and they want to really help correct them, but they don't like what they're doing. They don't like how they are being, how they are operating, or that they are hurting others, or that they kind of have an agenda for others that is not good. So in that case, it feels like their guides aren't necessarily going to like them, like what they're putting out. So they're saying that love and like are two different things. But it feels like they really like you as a person. It feels like you're a genuine person, you're a good person. And if they're saying that you want to put out the best intent, so this is the way that they see you. This is the way that they see you as operating. But they want to make sure that you don't harm yourself, that you allow, that you just allow yourself to feel and express. So they're saying that holding on to something will just damage you. But I just keep feeling from them almost like they like your personality. They like what you put out. And it feels like you do strive to be good. You do strive to see things in a higher way. They're saying to just see negativity as higher as well. See negativity as higher too. And then that'll actually lift you higher. I keep feeling some, well, this is the second time I felt that. I felt that way earlier. I think before I got the code name, when I first pulled out your picture, I was feeling like a connection to some women. And it feels like family members around you that you have a good connection with. It might be one, or it might be like a couple of them. But it almost feels like a grandmother, this kind of energy. Could be like a sister, something like that. At first, the energy that I was feeling almost felt like a grandmother, something like that. Sometimes grandmother can be confused with mother. But there is kind of this almost older woman kind of feeling. And it feels like because you are more emotional, you can connect with, there are some women that you can connect with. Because even though you're masculine and you're in a male form, it feels like at the same time you're very emotional. So you understand operating from emotions. They're saying that you're empathic, but it also feels like you can understand the emotions of others. So there's almost this feeling like you don't want to let others down, and it almost keeps feeling like you kind of want to hold a positive space for others. And that's kind of the thing, part of what your guides are talking about here, that they're observing with you. And they want to make sure that you don't hold this certain space for other people. That you just let your emotions rise and fall. Because you can't help what other people feel. It feels like, you can try and uplift them, you can try and uplift other people to a degree, but obviously you can't force that. If they choose to be uplifted, they will be. So it can't kind of be your mission in a sense. I definitely feel like some of that is subconscious. But it just feels like you shouldn't make that your goal. It feels like your goal should be your own emotional self and taking care of it. Otherwise, you're still going to put out something negative for others, even if they aren't consciously observing it. You know, it's still there in you, in your auric field. You're still going to be releasing it. In other words, not releasing as in allowing it to actually escape, and where you let go of it, but as in you're still going to be giving out that vibration, no matter what you do. If that vibration is there, if you're holding it. Okay, the zoisite. I feel like the emotional stuff that they are mentioning, to a degree, to like a slight degree, it can kind of block pretty much everywhere. But this energy right away is going to your crown chakra, and it feels like this is a pretty clear space. So it feels like this energy kind of releases into other areas, and it feels like it's kind of all over the place. And then it feels like, especially in certain areas, it's really bottled in certain places and held there. But obviously, even with that there are some places where it's like there's not nearly as much of it. It's not like a space where it's being held. It's just a little bit of it kind of released, went there. And so you definitely have some places still that are more clear than other places. So it feels like the crown chakra is one of those areas. This area is pretty clear. So it does feel like your guides can direct you. That your guides are able to speak to you and get through to you. This doesn't necessarily mean that they're like talking to you in your head, you know. It can mean that, but it can also mean that in general they're communicating with you. A person can be an atheist and not believe in guides at all, and they can actually be really in tune with their guides, as weird as that sounds, because they are going about their life. They're going about their life listening to their guides' suggestions. That's really what it is. It's guides tend to send things. They just send things via energy, like energy suggestions. So whether a person believes that they can hear some voice in their head, or that they can have thoughts sent to them telepathically, they're going to think it's their own thoughts. And usually, even when a person does believe that they can have that kind of direct communication, still, a lot of times still, their guides are going to speak to them via suggestions that are going to seem like something else isn't sending anything or interfering in any way, or influencing in any way. Not interfering, obviously, in a negative way. We contracted with these guides to do that. So they're allowed to do that. We allowed them to do that. But it's just going to seem like my own thought popped in my head, or my own feeling, and so I did that thing. So it's not going to feel like necessarily like it's anybody's suggestion. But you can be very in tune with your guides and not realize it. Or you can also be fully aware of it. And it feels like there's some of both. So I feel like you know that your guides are there. I feel like sometimes you are conscious of where they are or that you can feel them. So I do feel like in some ways they can, like sometimes they can communicate to you in a more direct way. But it feels like most of the time they're offering suggestions. And because this chakra is spinning and this chakra isn't blocked, so it's open, it's spinning, it's moving, it's clear, and so it feels like you have access to these suggestions from your guides more easily. So they're saying that you don't actually have to believe in guides even to have that. You just have to be clear. And so communicating with your guides is really all about clarity and just mastering clarity, being clear energetically, making sure that your own space is really free of any kind of toxicity. And that means energetically, and it means like mentally your beliefs, it means emotionally, and it means in general your energy. If your energy is clear, they can communicate with you. So they're saying that it's really about achieving clarity, and they're saying advancement is really pertaining to your level of understanding and clarity and being clear. So clearing your aura, having clear understanding of who you are, also who you're not. So like false beliefs or false emotions. So it's about understanding who you are and having clarity on that. They're saying that that's really what ascension is. That's what it means to move forward. That's what it means to progress. It means that you get clearer. You get clearer and clearer and clearer. And you become lighter versus heavier. And you know yourself more. You know what you are not more. And so therefore you know who you are more. I definitely feel an animal guide around you as well, at least one. But it's not really showing itself. It's not showing the type of animal that it is, which is rare. I don't usually have that. Usually if an animal comes in, it just shows what it is. Once in a while I'll have that. But then usually that's someone who is going to get another reading, and usually the animal shows whatever they are. But this feels like for some reason this totem is not really revealing itself. And that's what's odd, because a totem is like an animal usually that has like a specific message. So it's going to say, I'm a bear. And then you can look up bear totem. You can see what the message of the animal is, right? It's there to give you a message. So that's telling me that this can't be a totem then. This should be a guide. So this is some kind of animal guide as well that you have around you. It feels like it might even be more than one that you have around you. Feels kind of like there's this kind of animal group around you, actually. There's definitely multiple ones. I'm trying to think if I've ever picked up... Oh, yeah. No, I have. No, I've gotten an animal group before. Okay. But yeah, this is still though, I don't usually pick up on that, but this is like an animal group that's around you. But they're guiding you. For some reason they kind of feel like one animal though at the same time. I'm not really understanding that. I'm not sure if it's one guide who morphs into different things. I don't think that's it. I think it is multiple animals and they really work together very intensely. I feel like they help clear you and they help heal you. It feels like, even like with spiritual practices, it feels like they help you with that kind of thing as well. So like for instance, if you were to do some kind of shamanic kind of work and you were to help heal somebody else, it feels like these animals would definitely be there and they would be definitely adding their energy and helping you with that. But it feels like even just with yourself, it feels like they're constantly like sending you energies and healing you and helping you. And I feel like if you're really open to it, if you open up to that and really allow that in, I feel like they're going to be able to do more and more to help clear you. But I also feel like it's about really being aware of them as well, because then you can call on them more and you can just let them know that you are open to that, you're open to receiving that. So sometimes that's what it is with a guide. Sometimes you do have to kind of like directly call on a guide, even if you don't know its name, even if you don't know exactly what it is, what type of guide it is, just saying, hey, guides, I'm available to be helped, and then they come in and they help you because it feels like they have that opening. So even though we did contract with them before we came here, at the same time, this is still Earth and this is still our test. It's still our life. So they can kind of interfere, I'll say, or influence to a degree, right? And to the degree that we allow them to. But they can't do so much, they can do a certain amount. And the more that we allow them, the more that we call on them and let them know, hey, I'm open to your help. Or even in other ways, you can let a guide know that you're open to its help. Even in that way of just listening to its suggestions, that's a way of being open to its help. Obviously, that's not a way that we can always really be aware of, though. The guide will be aware of it. The guide knows I sent that and he did it. But you don't necessarily know. It feels like you've got some plants around you, too. Or at least one, anyway. And it feels like some kind of tree. So it feels like you have some kind of tree spirit around you also. So a lot of nature energies going on. And again, this feels like a guide. This feels like a guide that is around you. And sometimes I'll pick up on those things separately. So sometimes people have animals that are sort of their main guides. But usually people have kind of a separate, I guess you could say, group in a sense of kind of animal guides, and then maybe they'll have plant guides. And depending on the reading, I may or I may not pick up on those. And it really just has to do with what guides want to come through, you know? A lot of people can relate to certain guides more than others, or it just has to do with what your guides want to say and things like that. But I do think that everybody has some animal guides, and everybody even might have some plant guides with them as well. But I don't, especially plant guides, I don't normally pick up on those during readings. And most people, a lot of people would not even relate to that quite as much. I would definitely relate to that idea. But I know that some people wouldn't always relate to that as much, relate to a plant. Okay, so let's see what else they have to say. It feels like this tree is like very, very rooted in the ground. That's something that it sends you. So it helps you with clarity, it helps you with groundedness. It kind of helps refine your judgment. So it helps you have like a sense of yourself, a sense of the world around you, it feels like. So wisdom also, it's the wise tree, it feels like. And I even feel that as its name, like the name that it's giving, just wisdom. So you can even call it by that name. I feel like it'll come. It doesn't feel like that's its name. I don't even know if it has exactly a name. It feels like it more has like a vibration, and that's its name. Because it doesn't really speak with words. It's a tree. But it feels like this vibration that it sends out. It has to do with groundedness and clarity, seeing things clearly, having a sense of your domain around you, sense of your space around you. So it's saying if you want to call that something else, you can. You can call it clarity. You can call it wisdom, understanding. But it tries to give you a clear sense of what's happening around you. It also helps you with fulfilling your path and your destiny. And it also feels like it helps you with focus and to complete certain tasks in a grounded way. So it helps you remain focused in the present and be able to get certain things done. It feels like a male tree. And since you have a tree coming up and you have these animals coming up, that just shows how responsive you are to the natural world. And it definitely shows the connection that you have to nature, and where you really feel like you can connect with nature and that you respond to that type of energy. And as well, that's something that your guides also observe about you that they like. This is something that they like about you. You don't only relate to humans. It feels like you can understand animals as well, and even plants. You can understand nature and the world around you. You can see from another's perspective. So they're saying that is something to encourage and to enhance. But that is also something that you very much have. And that's something that they really like. So the solar plexus and the sacral, these are a couple of chakras where a lot of this emotional energy is definitely held. A lot of it feels like it's rooted there in this stomach area, and also the back. There, There are definitely some cords there in the back to other people and, other events, things like that. Or even cords to thought forms, it feels like as well. So if it's to an event, obviously it can't go to the event, but it's going to go to an energy that surrounds that idea of that place, that time, and whatever it was that happened. So that would be a thought form, in other words. So it's going to attach to a thought form that developed out of that specific thing. Or a thought form, it may have developed after the event and it came out of an emotion about it or a thought about it. And so it's not coming directly from the thing itself, but it came because of an attachment to it. So it's attached to a certain thing that went wrong or a certain emotion. Okay, so some of this is releasing a bit. But again, it feels like you've got to do more to help more of it release. Okay, so that is the end of this reading. That is all that your guides have to say. So thank you very much. Have faith for allowing me to do this reading for you. I truly hope that it has benefited you. Thank you very much. Namaste.